Hello and welcome to the first episode of The Student Ramble. My name is Leah.
And my name is Phoebe.
I'm Millie.
I'm Lara.
And this is our first episode. We're going to be talking about our university journeys, how we got here, the whole UCAS process, all of that jazz. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around. So I'm going to get started. So, first of all, we should probably just do a bit of an introduction as to the courses that we're doing because, some people might not know what we're doing. So, first of all, I'm doing psychology. I'm doing the BSc, which is the Bachelor of Science. Phoebe, what are you doing?
Yeah, so my degree has quite a long title. I'm doing a BSc in biochemistry with professional experience, which means between my second and third year of study, I will go out and do a year in industry.
I am doing a BA in English Literature.
And yeah, I'm doing a BA in English Literature.
So we've got a fair mix. We've got a bit of, me and Phoebe are kind of we're the science ones, I suppose. And then we've got Millie and Lara in the English department. So, let's just kind of get stuck into it. So, in terms of applying for uni, the first thing that you kind of have to do is decide the course that you're doing and the course in the uni. And I don't know about for you guys, but the only way that I did that was, I think it was my secondary school. Yeah, I think it was like year 9, maybe. Year 9 or year 10. We went to a careers fair, and in that there was like a load of universities. And basically I just went and spoke to all of the ones within the area that I was looking at. And yeah, did you guys have that sort of thing where you had like a uni exhibition?
Yeah, we went to something called a UCAS fair in our first year of sixth form, so year 12, where there was loads of representatives from universities all over the UK, like even from like Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Northern England, everything. And we could kind of go around, ask them questions, get prospectuses and stuff, speak to the outreach people who were there to kind of get a better understanding of what the universities were like.
Fair enough. Lara, Millie, what about you guys?
I sort of had a similar thing. Our school sent us to quite a few like UCAS fairs, and I just remember picking up so many prospectuses for everything. And the freebies are also great, so chat to people and pick up freebies.
Oh yeah, freebies were the best thing.
I remember it being a competition, how much stuff could you get in the day?
Yeah, absolutely. How many free pens, highlighters...
Yeah, you were on the coach back home with like 7 tote bags.
I remember me and my friends had a game. We had like a point system, and at our lunch break we sat down and see who got the most points.
Oh.
Ours was quite different. You guys went to UCAS fairs, but all the university representatives came to our college. So we just went to just that big hall in our college, and that's where we just met everyone. And then I learned, there's a UCAS fair, but it was in London. So I just thought, well, they're all coming here anyway. And then I picked a few and then went to those like universities alone, and that was that.
So when you went and found like these universities that you were kind of interested in the courses, did you go to the open days or did you just contact them and just find a day which you could go?
The open days for me.
How many like open days and stuff did you guys go to? Did you kind of know from the get-go which universities that you knew that you were applying for, or were you just kind of seeing what was out there?
I think I went to 7 different uni open days and applied for 5. So I sort of from the start had quite a narrow idea of where I thought I would like.
See, I see that as quite broad because I applied for 5, but I think I kind of had my top like 2 or 3. So I went to the open days for those to just kind of cement the idea, like the order that I was putting them in my application. But aside from that, like I kind of just went to them for the sake of it. It was quite nice just to have a day out of school, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I had kind of a different experience. So in my first year of sixth form, year 12, I got into an outreach programme for the university I ended up going to. so I knew very early on, like, that's where I wanted to go, as like a gut feeling. So I didn't end up coming to an open day at where I ended up because I knew I wanted to be here, but I went to 4 other universities just to get a taste. No, I went to 5 other universities, sorry, to get like a taste, but I knew from like 16 that where I am now is where I wanted to go. Which
Oh,
is
that's pretty good.
pretty
Yeah, that's good
different
to have like
everyone
a.
else.
Yeah, I knew the area that I wanted to be in, like a like location, not like field, but because I knew that I wanted to stay kind of close to home, just because it's just easier for me to carry on working and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think when I found the university that were kind of in my top 2, it was very difficult for me to kind of figure out which of the 2 was going to be my higher priority until I went to the open days, and I think that's why open days are so valuable.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I went to one of the open days, and I was really interested in this university, and I got there, and I went with my dad. I remember, I think I was there for 10 minutes, and I was like, Dad, I hate it here. Like, in 10 minutes, I knew, like, this was not the place for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, I found.
I think
open
I did
days
that.
very
I think it was like
important.
an hour and a half. It was like an hour and a half car journey to get to this university, and I got there. And I was like, originally I was like, I'm not too sure. I mean, it's probably going to be, you know, like my number 4 or 5 in my list. And then I got there and I was like, I hated every minute of it. I think I was there for maybe 15 minutes because the day that I went, I think they were still doing construction on one of the departments. So I couldn't see any of the lecture halls. The accommodations, they were like, oh, well, here's this like glass pod of what a room would look like. But I couldn't, like, a lot of the uni was closed off. You basically had the cafeteria open and one hall where they gave a general speech. But I think you can really judge a university on their open day, and you can really get a feel for what it's going to be like when you're there.
Yeah, definitely.
The biggest thing for me was choosing between a campus university and like a one in the city.
Yeah.
Because like the university we're going to, like this is the first university that I ever went to, and I just fell in love with the campus, and I was like, I just don't want to go to a small uni in London, for example, especially like in the city where the city is your campus, but instead I just wanted to have like a community feeling, and that's what I think attracted me to this uni. Instead of like, there were so many, and most of the like very big campus universities I live quite far away from, so that was another factor. I didn't want to be that far away from my family, but also like far away enough that I could like see what university life is like and like live actually away from home.
Yeah. I mean, how many, like, because I think we all went to the open day, but did you guys then go to the applicant days?
Yes, I did.
I did.
I didn't.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't want to go to the applicant day because the uni we're all at now was actually the only uni off of my 5 that I had crossed off that I didn't want to go to.
Oh, really?
It was the only one out of the 5 offers I had that I had written off. I was like, no, that's the one we can cross off, and I'll go to the other 4 and see what they're like. And then when they contacted me for the applicant day, my mum and my dad, they were like, just go, just give it a try, see how you feel. And I think what made the difference for me was actually sort of feeling like I was at uni, but also the applicant day was so different to the open day, even just in the fact that it was sunny. When I went for my open day, it was pouring with rain, and so you didn't want to spend time outside, and where we are, like, the outside of campus is gorgeous. So it just, yeah. And the applicant day was when I was like, yeah, this is where I want to go, and it was very strange for me.
I think also with the applicant day, for me at least, the open day was very much, you know, you're being chauffeured around by your mum and dad, and then, you know, you're doing kind of just tours of accommodation. It's very generic. You know, the guides that you kind of follow around, they've got this set list of things that to show you, and you ask your questions and all of that. Whereas the applicant day is when you kind of have a bit more feel for the campus already, because you've done that tour before, and you might have a lot more questions between then and like between the open day and the applicant day. I mean, I did.
Yeah.
Normally because around that time you look more into the finance side of it.
I mean, I definitely had that experience. My parents still came with me on the applicant days. I remember my dad embarrassed me so much on one of the applicant days. I don't think I've ever told you guys this story. So I went to one applicant day. So as a lab-based subject, we got to go into the labs and kind of experience different universities, projects and research projects and stuff. And I remember I was going around speaking to people about their projects. my dad was speaking to people too. My mum kind of said, look, I don't know what this is about, I'm going to stay out of the way. But my dad doesn't realise that he doesn't understand what I'm doing. So I remember he was talking to this poor girl, and she was doing research on tadpoles. So underneath a microscope she had, a sample of tadpoles. My dad knows what a tadpole looks like. It has 2 eyes that are black and a weird little wiggly body. He looked down this microscope, and I feel so sorry for this girl. He looked this girl dead in the eyes and was like, what are those black dots on it? I was like, Dad, it's a tadpole. And he was like, yeah, but I don't know what the black dots are. I was like, Dad, you know they're tadpoles. What do you think they are? And he was like, I don't know. And this poor girl had to just be like, oh, that's their eyes. And I was like, Dad, I felt so embarrassed. And my mum came over and dragged my dad away. So my advice is if you're doing a lab-based subject that your parents don't understand, don't take them with you. They won't get it. They'll just embarrass you and make people think you could also use it as looks like.
You could use it as an opportunity to kind of show, for example, my parents they knew what I was doing because I'd done it in A level. I did psychology in A level, but I think there is a difference between what you do in A level and what you do in in a degree. I mean, there is obviously similarities, but it was kind of nice for me to show my parents, this is where I'm going to be living, hopefully this is where I'm going to be revising, this is the library. I mean, I everyone has their own priorities when they're picking universities or courses. For me, one of the biggest factors for me was always going to be how the campus itself looked. I didn't want to go to a concrete campus where it was very much kind of similar to Laura. I didn't want to do a city camp. I really wanted to do a campus uni where there was a lot more greenery, and it kind of felt like you were almost in your own little world. Whereas if you're surrounded by buildings and you don't really get to do much, it can really take a toll, and it's just not really fun.
I mean, a question I have for you guys is when you were looking at a university, what was your top 3 priorities that you wanted from a university? Aside from the course content, what were your top 3, this is what I want at a university?
Ooh, that's
a good
really
question,
hard.
and I'm trying to remember.
I can say mine. I remember mine.
Yeah, you go
distinctly.
first.
So my kind of top 3 things I wanted at a university, I wanted a campus university. I did not want a city university because I have very little sense of direction. I wanted one, as a scientist, I wanted one with new labs, which is what our university has. And I wanted one a bit away from home. I didn't want to be near my parents anymore. I was done with the area I grew up in. There was nothing to do there. I was done. I just wanted to get away and
just
have a new start. That was my top 3.
I'm still trying to think of mine, so
Yeah, I think one of the top things for me was looking at accommodation. That was one of the main things that me and my dad, when we went, made sure we looked at, because some accommodations are very questionable.
Yes, definitely.
And we definitely went to a few universities, and me and my dad would walk in and be like, nope, I would not be able to live here. It's not that I'm fussy necessarily, but I knew that there were things that I wanted it to look like and to feel like.
You hear all the horror stories as well, and you walk in and you can
Absolutely.
automatically picture someone has definitely done questionable things with this room.
And obviously, when you go on open days, there are usually people living in them at the time, and and so that gives you an idea of what it will actually look like when you're living in it with other students. So accommodation was defo important for me. Similarly, a campus uni, like I said, I looked at 7, and the 2 I didn't apply for were both city unis in London. And whilst I loved the idea of living in London, I just would not be able to have coped with it. Having a campus is much more of a community and knowing where everything is, and it just felt a little bit safer to me to be on a campus uni rather than a city uni. And then third thing, I don't really know. Probably like what the campus was actually like, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah, you have some which are
our
quite
campus
lively
is
or some which
very
are quite
green
chilled.
and lots of outdoor space, but also our campus is a fairly big campus, and I quite liked that because it didn't feel too much enclosed. One of the campus unis I looked at was basically the same size as like my school, and that was really weird. Like, accommodation was opposite the library, and whilst I quite liked that for like laziness purposes, I feel like 3 years there you just feel really trapped. So that was another thing for me.
What about you, Laura?
It was mainly for it to be a campus university. I think that was the biggest first reason. And then second of all, I mean, as an English student, my biggest, the biggest thing I would look at was how does the library look? Are there enough spaces? And I love books. Do they have enough books? So, because I've gone to universities where, for example, in the city, where it's just the library is like 3 floors maybe, and in a tiny building, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that. But I mainly looked at, I went to like some gorgeous universities with incredible libraries, and I was like, I've fallen in love here. But I think our university as well, the library was incredible, and I was like, I can definitely see myself coming and studying in here. I think the third thing was also accommodation, because I wanted to have, yes, a community feeling, but especially, like, for example, I'm just comparing it to the city, but the city, it was just too, I wouldn't say noisy, but it was just everywhere. So if I had an accommodation, I would need to take trains and then buses and so many different transport to just get to the university itself. But with a campus uni, I feel like everything is in one place, so you could just walk to where your lectures are, and then you could have that community of walking with people. But yeah, I think those are the 3 things. Also, I was thinking of when you all meant, when you all said applicant days, I thought, oh, did you go to an applicant day where we are? No, the only thing I didn't do was go to an applicant day where we are. We had like little talks where we are, but like I went into different talks of maybe like 45 minutes of classes, but they were given during the open days, so I'm not
Were they
quite
like
sure if
almost
that's...
taster sessions?
Yeah. So those
Okay.
were the taster sessions that I went to, and I went to so many taster sessions, and that's what also shaped what I wanted to, where I wanted to go, because with some like gorgeous campus universities, I was like, I can definitely see myself here, and then I go into the classroom or that lecture, and then I was like, I can't do this, even though it was a subject I wanted to study, for example. And that's how I also eliminated subjects. For example, with philosophy, I was like, I went into a few of those taster sessions. I was like, I can't do that, it's too complicated and it's not my interest area. So yeah, I think that's why those are the 3 things, and then why I think English was the best choice.
Well, fair enough. I think, so for me personally, to be honest, when I came to the open days and applicant days, I kind of knew from the moment I got to the campus, I was like, this is where I want to be. And I kind of knew that I was going to end up coming here because I was doing pretty well in A-levels, and I was like, well, so for psychology, your entrance grades were, I think it was AAB, but triple A, but if you chose it as a first choice, it like you dropped a grade maybe. Luckily, I actually did one lower than that. So my offer was AAB, and I actually got AAC, but I still got onto the course, so we're all good. But when I was looking at universities initially, one of my main things was probably the library. I really enjoy a library because, especially with accommodations in uni for sort of first year, you're so used to being kind of cooped up in a room or in a lecture hall, and having a space to kind of separate your work life and your social life is very important. Don't get me wrong, if it was 9 p.m, I mean, I remember when we all lived together, the amount of times I'd say, oh, it's like 9 p.m, but I kind of feel like doing some work, so I'm going to go to the library for a bit. And we're very lucky that a lot of university libraries are 24 hours, because, you know, compared to, for example, a city campus, I can't really remember, but from memory, they kind of just normally would use libraries which were in that city already. They'd have like a university, like sort of a different building specifically for sort of dissertation books and all that sort of stuff. But for me, a library was kind of very important because I wanted to be able to have a space which was big and open and didn't almost feel stuffy, because you can kind of walk into a room and know that you're not going to get any work done there. But I just kind of liked how clean it was. I mean, our library was a new build. It was a very recent build when we came, but it just looked really nice and it really appealed to me. I was like, oh, this looks fancy.
I was going to say, our intake year was the first, in that September was when the library opened.
Yeah, see, I knew it was recent. I didn't realise it was that recent, though. That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, also, so compared to kind of the rest of you lot, I mean, I'm a big, massive party animal. No, I'm not. But I do like going out and hanging out with friends and going drinking and all that sort of stuff. So I really looked at what the area was like around the uni. Because, for example, some unis that I went to, the campus was lovely, the actual university itself was very promising, but there was nothing around the uni itself. Like, there wouldn't be any clubs, there wouldn't be many shops, there wouldn't be many restaurants, and I think as much as people will say, you know, pick a university because it's great, you're living there as well, so you want to make sure that there's things that are actually going to fill your time. Like, I think, so on our campus, we have a lot of different options, regardless if you drink or not. There's so many different, well, when there's not a pandemic, there's a lot of different, there's a lot of different options for kind of drinking and non-drinking events. For example, there's like comedy nights or quiz nights, and, you know, I don't know about you guys, but it was just the sort of thing where when I was looking at unis, it was something which heavily factored into whether I was going to pick it or not. And I was quite lucky that the area that I chose already had friends in the area, not people that went to uni, but just people who lived nearby. So it meant that I was able to kind of keep my social life that I had before coming to uni, but would just kind of make general additions to it. And I think the final thing that which was really important to me was, I think the same thing of just the general look, like the general university itself. I mean, I love the campus that we're on now because it's really green, you know, especially the fact that we've kind of had to stay inside. Going for a walk around that, I mean, I'm still discovering different routes and places, like even now, like we've been here for 2 years, and there's still areas that I haven't been to, and I think having a place which you can go and explore just for a day, just like a couple of hours, you're like, right, I need to get out of the house. I've been in the same 4 walls for 48 hours. Just going for a walk around sort of the greenery, you know, going to feed the ducks on a Sunday. It's like, it's very, I don't know, it's something which really did wonders for me, and I really value that. So moving on, let's talk a bit about the personal statements that we had to do before we came to uni. And I don't know about you guys, but I despised writing my personal statement.
Really?
Yeah, I did not like it.
I didn't enjoy it, but I also didn't find it as hard as I thought I would. I knew what I wanted to put in it. It was more the actually selling myself side of things that I really struggled with.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I remember I did one of my first jobs. So I started writing my personal statement really early because I think I had an idea of like maybe I wanted to apply for Oxford. I didn't in the end. It was just I visited Oxford and it wasn't for me. So I started quite early on my personal statement, and I remember I took it in to our kind of destinations person at my sixth form, and she kind of sat me down. She's like, "Phoebe, you've done so much more than what you've written in your personal statement, but you're just too shy." And I think that's what a lot of people do. They're just too shy about their achievements.
Yeah.
So the hardest thing about writing a personal statement for me was being like, I'm amazing and this is why. When I'm not like that as a person, I'm very like kept myself, very modest, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a difference between, you know, boasting about your achievements and being like, look at me, I'm great, but doing it in a way which is showing off. And there's a difference between presenting your achievements and the things that you've done which would be attractive to an employer or a university, or you know, it's trying to get that balance.
Yeah, definitely.
But for me, I was applying for my course because I was interested in it, but you know, they ask you the way that, so for people who haven't done their personal statements yet, basically a personal statement is about a page of writing which is basically you saying to a university, I want to do this course because of this. You're presenting, it is kind of like a job application in a way, you know, you're saying why you're interested in the course, interested in the university, why you're even like what you would want to do in the future with it maybe. And for me, I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew that I wanted to do something along the lines of teaching in the future, but I wasn't sure. I enjoyed psychology at A-level and I thought, you know what, why not, let's carry on with it. But in my personal statement, I think I wrote something along the lines of that I wanted to study psychology because I enjoyed reading like thriller crime novels, which is true. I do love a good thriller, but I don't know. I think I just didn't enjoy a personal statement because you're writing to impress someone rather than writing from a place of like honesty and like, I really want to do this because I want to teach this. I didn't know at that point. You know, it's like you kind of have to.
You do sort of have to not twist your experiences, but I had a lot of experiences where I was like, that's great that I've done that, but that is not relevant to an English degree. Yeah. And it's looking at actually what skills did I gain from doing this and how did it better me as a person. And yeah, like I said, twisting it to fit what you want to do. Like, I had volunteered as a drama teaching assistant, and I was like, in what way is that relevant to an English degree? And so it's sort of, I sat down with, like, one of my English teachers, because he was great, and I had these experiences, and we went through and we're like, right, how is that relevant to what you want to do? And that really helped me.
I think also, like, personal statements, you start them when you're, like, 16, 17. That's a big ask of a 17-year-old, you know?
Yeah.
Like, most people write their personal statements when they're, like, 17, which, trying to ask a 17-year-old why they're a good person is tough.
But also the amount which is asked of you, like, you know, the experience that you've had and all that sort of stuff. You know, at 17, you will have had the experience that you did in secondary school, because I think that's, like, part of the curriculum. Like, for me, I think I did 2 weeks in a primary school. And you know, at that point you're not expected to know what you want to do in the future, but the whole point of these things like work experience and the fact that, you know, your schools or colleges will normally say try and get some experience. You know, you think you don't have loads of time, but even just doing a weekend job. So for example, for me, I've worked in the same job now for about, like, part-time job for nearly 3 years now, and as much as doing, like, waitressing and, like, being a bartender, like, as much as that doesn't really, as much as you wouldn't think that has skills, when you think about it on another level, there are so many things which I've learnt within those jobs and that can be applied, and it's kind of switching your own mentality to be able to look at something from a different perspective. Like, you could just be working in a fast food restaurant or whatever, and you don't understand, you're having to work under pressure, you're having to have good communication skills with the rest of your team, and meeting customer needs, dealing with potential issues, which like kind of adapting a situation. And I think that's something which it's quite difficult to teach someone.
And it's like communication skills come in a lot when you're working like part-time jobs, which is something that you constantly need at university, at least in my experience. But you wouldn't think to put down like, I've bettered my communication skills, because it seems so little when you're 16, 17.
I think you guys started quite young to do personal statements and everything, because like my experience was a bit different, where like I finished high school but came to England from Turkey, Istanbul, and I didn't know the first thing about personal statements, how to do, like even with A levels I didn't know what I was going to do. But when I started college, I had to do GCSEs along A levels. So when you guys were learning about like doing personal statements and how everything works, I was just doing like 5 subjects in a year, and then trying to also learn about, there's something called personal statements, there's something this and that. And the only thing, like the advices that were given to me were a bit different, in where I hadn't done work experience. Like I do know that in England you do go to, for example, a 2-week work experience where you your college or sixth form takes you. But what I did was I had work experience from when I was in Istanbul, so that's what I honed in on, and that's what I kind of tried to get across. Like, this is what I did for 4 years. I was in Interact, which is like a part of Rotary, for about 14 to 18 year olds, and that's what I did, and how like those experiences shaped me. So it was, and how would those relevant to like an English degree? How are you trying to sell yourself, as well as trying to say, look, I want to do this degree and I have these experiences, how are these going to affect me, kind of thing. So it was just a lot of things all together at once, but thankfully the advice that I was given really helped. And I think like I had a lovely English literature teacher, and she helped me throughout all of it. So I think that's my kind of general take from that.
So would you say, so for example, I think I'm definitely doing something after uni. Phoebe, I don't know, I can't remember if you said that you were, but basically, obviously at some point we might have to write a personal statement again. I know I do when I apply to do my like PGCE, my teaching stuff. When I finish my undergraduate, I have to write another personal statement about teaching. And I know that when it comes to doing that, it's going to be a lot easier, because I have a whole passion behind that. I've wanted to do teaching for so long. And I think I've got a much better understanding of the skills that I have, which would be relevant to teaching. So, but also we have a lot more resources at a university, I feel like, to help us. Because, you can kind of get the answer straight from the horse's mouth. As a university, what are you looking for in a candidate? But I also feel like, very, like, little hack, very rarely universities will reject you based on your personal statement. Because at the end of the day, universities need the money.
Little insight. I spoke to an admissions tutor at the university we're at, and apparently the personal statement is one of the last things they read.
Yeah, exactly. More often than not, they'll look at the reference that you've been given from your tutor or a teacher, which, if you're not friends with your tutor or your teacher, try and get on their good side, because it can make the world of difference. But also they look at your grades and just your general work ethic. I can't remember, I mean, Phoebe, you might know this, but do they look at attendance from, like, because I remember being told that in A-levels that, universities look at attendance. They don't take attendance in university, aside from, like, seminars or labs for me, but...
Yeah, so from the reason Leah's asked me, by the way, is I do a lot of mentoring and student ambassador work for the university.
Yeah, sorry, it's not... Phoebe's not a secret lecturer. She just knows this stuff.
So from my little knowledge that I am by no means an expert in applications or anything like that.
This is just how it worked for us.
Questions. No, so from my understanding, and what I can remember from my experience, the reason schools say about attendance is that your tutor may mention it in your reference from them. So, for example, your tutor at your school or sixth form might be like, they have excellent attendance, which is shown by their records, which would make a university put their head up and go, oh, we're going to invest in this person and they're going to pay it back to us by attending all of these sessions we're putting on for them and putting the effort into their degree.
I suppose they also want to check to see if you're the kind of student that might end up dropping out.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you drop out, you've lost the university money, which, it doesn't affect you. At the end of the day, if university's not for you, it's not for you. But they, like you say, they're making an investment.
Yeah, you've got to think as like you're not just investing time and money in the university. The university is investing its resources in you. So it's like a two-way street.
Yeah, exactly. So, kind of leaving that topic, do you guys remember the week when you started getting university offers?
Oh, I refreshed my email every 5 seconds. Like, I was so eager to know, and I got a few of them back quite quickly, but a couple of the unis took weeks, and it was killing me. I was like, please just reply to me. And it was probably, for a couple of my unis, they took 3 or 4 weeks to get back to me. But I actually got my first couple of offers. I was doing panto at the time, and we were backstage. We were about to go on, and I had an email pop up, and I was like, guys, I'm sorry, I have to open the email. It's from UCAS. And one of them was an unconditional offer, and I was so buzzing. And I was like, how long do we have before we need to be back on stage? And they were like, you've probably got 2.5 minutes. And I was like, I'm going to leg it outside and ring my mum real quick because she'll be buzzing. And so I remember standing outside in the cold of January on the phone, screaming at my mum fairly quietly so the audience didn't hear me, and then legging it back inside.
Yeah.
Now that is a sight that I wish to see.
Yeah, I can't remember when I got emails being told I had places. I was very lucky to get a place at all the unis I applied for though. But I remember the results day morning when I found out that I got my place here. And
oh my god.
I remember
Results day.
Yeah, I was sat at my laptop refreshing like UCAS, and I remember it opened early for me.
Yeah,
Opened
same.
20 minutes early before it was meant to, and I clicked like log in, and it said like, your university has accepted you. And I remember screaming like, Mum, and sobbing, and my mum came in and she started crying, and we were like stood in my room like hugging, because it was like all that stress and like long nights and tears and frustrations and worries have like finally paid off. So that was really nice.
Yeah.
What about you, Lara?
For me, it was, I wanted to open them alone, and I was like, okay, I need to get this out of my system myself and then like tell my parents. So like I just remember being in my room, just trying to like ignore the little pings from friends of like friend groups, just being like, what are your results, what did you get, or like, did you get in, and I was like, okay, let me just see if I did. And then I logged in. I was like, okay, just breathe, just stay calm, opened all the windows, because I was like, I can't breathe. You can just and then I did like Phoebe, I did get into thankfully all of them, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I was crying, and then I went downstairs. I was like, can I trick my parents into saying I didn't get into any?
Oh my
but I was
God.
like, that's just a bit cruel.
That is very cruel.
It was.
Did you?
And no.
Okay.
I
Thank God.
mean, my mum just saw my face and she's like, don't even lie to me. I know what you're trying to do. You got in, right? I was like, I got into all of them. She started crying. She was calling all our family and just being like, hello, so she got in. We're good. She got in. So it was just incredible. No, we went out to just celebrate and have a lovely dinner, and I don't even know. I remember like my granddad bringing me flowers and everything, and she was like, "Oh, this is for you." It was so incredible to actually, like Phoebe said, to have everything, all the work that you put in, pay off in the end, and it was incredible.
See, for me, so when it was, so I actually sent off my my UCAS application really early. So I think I can't remember. I think it was like October for us when it opened, or something like that. And I think maybe it was open for maybe 2 weeks. I think I'd sent off my application by the end of October. So I started getting all of my applications back. I got them back a lot earlier than my friends did. But I remember being at work, and I was just working, so like my phone's at like one end of the bar, and I'm just kind of doing other stuff. And then because I had a Fitbit on my wrist, so I got like a buzz when I got a notification. And I just remember every single time that my wrist vibrated, I would just like check it, and I'd be like, "Is it UCAS? Is it UCAS?" And every time, because I don't know if it was the same. I can't remember 100%, but I think when it was the emails, it was just like a status had changed or something.
Yeah.
And then you'd normally get an email from the actual university itself giving you the update, but I would always just be like, because there was basically the university right now, that was the only one I cared about. I just wanted to know what the offer they would give me, because I was really hoping for an unconditional, because it kind of it takes the pressure off a bit. I mean, I still wanted to work hard and do my A-levels to the best of my ability, but for the most part it's just a bit nicer when you have an unconditional. But for me, I just remember every time I check, I'd be like, ugh, wrong university, and it was the last, so I only applied for the 5, the only 5 that I looked at, they're the ones that I applied for, and I just remember the university that I cared about the most, I got the response last, and it was like 2 weeks separate from all the other ones. But when I did get it, I got a conditional offer. So I just remember I was like, right, really got to get my head down, work on this now, which I was going to do anyway. And all of my teachers were kind of behind me and were like, yeah, you can do this. Like, we're going to support you. It'll be fine. But then when it came to results day, so I'd heard different things about. So the way that results day works for A-levels is that if you've applied to UCAS, the website updates at, I think it's 8 in the morning, with basically it'll be like there'll be a status change, and it will say, congratulations, such and such university has accepted or has offered you a place for this. And then you have to accept it. You don't have to. If you were like, actually, you know what, now I actually want to go to what my second choice was, you can decline those offers and then accept whichever one you want. But I just remember, I think I did not sleep. I was on Twitter the whole night, and I just remember being one of those people who I'd like try and go to sleep, and then I'd wake up and be like, is it time yet? And I originally thought it updated at 7, so I was up from like 6:30, just keep refreshing my laptop just on the off chance that it would have been early. And then my friend messaged me saying, you know, it's 8 o'clock, right? I was like, oh no. So but like my whole family's asleep at this point, you know, everyone's asleep, because I mean it was 8 o'clock on a Thursday morning. Well, actually no, by this point it was like 7:30. But yeah, and I just remember it updated. I saw my university, but you don't get to see your grades, because for me, so the college that I went to, we basically saw the UCAS update, so you knew that you'd done well enough to get into university. And to be honest, by that point, that's all you care about. You're like, did I get in? Yeah, great, cool. I don't really care what my results are now. And then, like, I think it was maybe 12 o'clock that I could go into my university. Actually, no, I think it was like 10, that I could go to my college to pick up my actual results.
Yeah, I think my sixth form opened at like 9 for results collection. 9 or 10.
That whole day was a blur to me.
I thought you guys were talking about results day before, so that's what I was trying to explain, the day for me.
Oh, yeah. No, kind of just everything, really.
Yeah.
The whole process. But
no, the uni took ages. Like, some universities took ages to reply, but I just remember, like, that's what I tried to explain, the results day experience of like, okay, did I get in and did I not? So yeah.
I mean, what did you guys like celebrate on results day, or were you kind of just like, okay, a big relief, going to bed for like 3 hours?
I remember crying a lot I'm one of those, I'm a crier in any situation. I will cry my eyes out. And so I think I cried most of the day because it would just keep hitting me that like, oh my god, I've actually done it. So every hour I'd start crying again.
See, I cried when I opened my results initially. But it was more kind of a shock, and then I had a pure adrenaline rush for the entire day. I could have run from one end of the country to the other based on the adrenaline that I had. But yeah, I think my family and I can't remember if we went out for lunch or if we went out for dinner, one of the two. And I think I just messaged all of my friends, basically just saying, you know, what happened. And one of my friends at the university that we met on an applicant day, we were messaging each other the whole time throughout exams, through everything. And I remember, because we did the same sort of A-levels, I remember messaging each other on the day of results day, and it was a very nervous scenario because it was like you didn't want to say, oh, I got in, and then the other one hadn't. So we were just like, did you get in? Yeah. Did you get in? Yeah. Epic. See you in 3 months. And it was, you know, it was almost a day of euphoria because you were just like, wow. It was a big relief for me. I mean, A-levels really were a bucket of fun.
Oh my god, A-levels whipped my butt so hard.
Yeah.
So, for reference, I did biology, chemistry and maths, and then in my first year I also did EPQ. So I was studying a lot. And I still stand by the fact that my A-levels have been harder than my degree have been so far. And I think
that's the same with a lot of A-levels, because A-levels you're doing quite a big workload, but they're also different subjects. So I did law, sociology and psychology. So they were all essay-based subjects. So when it came to exams, I had 3 2-hour exams per subject. So I in total had 9. And I remember like 2 of them being, I think I had a law and a sociology on the same day. And oh my goodness. I remember, I don't do this, but I left a lot of my revising to like the day before or like a couple days before the exam. That's always how I've done exams. GCSEs I revised the day of, and I've always done very well. I was one of those who, you know, I was just generally academically gifted, I suppose. Like, I was just one of those that I could not do much work and get a lot of payoffs, which is why I have a horrible work ethic now. But for me, A-levels, I think I found A-levels about the same as my degree, but with A-levels, I think it was harder because you kind of had to physically go to the classes, and, you know, there was so much stuff that you had to do within a classroom, and there wasn't much that you did outside of it. You know, you did your homework, you did your essays or whatever you were doing, and for me, I only did a couple of things outside of uni. I did outside of college. I did like I was part of the student union and student welfare teams. So like I did quite a few bits outside of college itself, but with uni, it is quite chill because, you know, if you're not feeling great, if you've got a bit of a headache, then you can just, you know, leave it. I mean, under normal circumstances, you just ask your friend to take notes in the lecture or ask your friend to record it for you. Whereas now, you know, I can do my lectures whilst still in bed.
Don't do that though. That is unhealthy.
Yeah, don't do that. It's really bad. But like, sometimes I've got a 9 a.m. lab, and might have been up until like 3 a.m. the night before watching. Look, it's fine. I'm very much basing my lifestyle at the moment on the fact that I'm going to be working night shifts, or like late shifts when we're allowed outside again, and I'm just training my body to be able to stay up later.
Sure.
You know what? It's fine. I'm still getting my stuff done, and that's all that matters.
That is the main thing.
Exactly. So, I mean, so we've got like a list of stuff. The one thing that I do kind of want to go into a little bit is finance, because I found that so confusing before coming to uni. Like, because not being funny, the government website is a bit hard to navigate.
Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky. The amount of finance talks my sixth form gave us, it got to the point where my entire year group could just recite the talk back to the people who were giving them.
Oh, see, we didn't have any of that. I think we had like maybe I think we had like a PowerPoint presentation emailed to us, and that was it.
I think in the end, if I try and count them up very quickly, I think my sixth form gave us like 4 talks during the 2 years we were there on student finance. Yeah, and then I also had one with an outreach program that I did.
See, I think my tutor just had a general chat with us, and that was about it. And then most of it I actually found through, I think it might have been like a WikiHow or something on YouTube or on the internet. I was just looking at, what is the actual process.
My
because
biggest sorry, I was just gonna say my biggest piece of advice with student finance is if you're concerned or you don't know how it works, the universities you're applying for will likely have a student finance department. You can find the emails for pretty much any person at a university very, very easily. So if you email them and just be like, hey, I'm an applicant, I'm really confused, can you explain to me? I'm sure they will be more than happy to explain how student finance works to you.
Yeah, they'd rather you ask for help and apply correctly rather than apply incorrectly and then you're kind of stuffed. So, I mean, I can't really, in all honesty, I can't remember the full process. I think it was more just the fact that the biggest things that I had to try and remember was the fact that you apply for a tuition loan and a maintenance loan separately. The maintenance loan is based on your parents' income, which you basically give your parents or whoever's supporting your application a link, and then they follow their own form. They kind of just do that independently from you.
Kind of. Do you want me to explain it?
Yeah, please do it. I'm explaining that horribly.
Okay, so student finance is separate from your UCAS application. You have to go through a government website. Please do not fall for one of these scam websites. It is a .gov website. You need to go on there. You need to say that you're a new student applying, unless you're a returner like us lot, and then you say you're a returner. You have to put in the details of the university you're thinking of going to. You do not need to have an accepted offer at that university. You just need to have an offer from them, and you've made them your first choice. Then you'll get a tuition loan, which is the £9,250 a year. That will go straight to the university.
Yeah, you never see that.
Yeah, straight to the university. You have nothing to do with that. And then and so that will be given to everyone. Everyone gets a tuition loan, no matter your parental income. Everyone can get it. Then you have your maintenance loan, which is based off of your parents' income. You may not get one if your parents are particularly well off. It is conditional and it is based off of your parents' income. So
that gets done by like the tax year.
Yeah. So if your parents have a hard year at work, you'll probably get more in a maintenance loan and vice versa. You can also apply for extra funding for a maintenance loan, which is where your parents have to fill out the details, which is what Leah was talking about previously.
Yeah.
As for repayment, you don't have to pay anything back straight away, so do not worry about being like, I don't have, a load of money just sitting around. You don't have to pay anything off straight away.
Yeah, enjoy that money.
Yes, enjoy it while it lasts. Once you're out of university, still nothing to pay back. It is only when you're in a job that earns, I believe, over
it's £25,000, I think.
£25,000 a year, and you pay a percentage of.
It's a really small percentage. Like you won't notice it. It'll be like almost like the worst Netflix subscription ever. Like you literally will not notice it.
And
by that point, you're earning a certain amount of money, so you won't notice it anyway.
Yeah, and it's taken off like tax, so you don't have to remember to pay it. It will just be taken off, and then on your pay slips, it'll be like tax, university fees, and then after a set, I believe 30 years, the debt is
30.
completely cleared. You don't have to worry about paying it. So the likelihood is you won't even pay off all of that loan.
Unless you're in a very high-paying job.
Yeah, unless you're being paid loads. So
in which case you can thank your degree for that.
Yeah, that is my very brief overview of student finance.
It was very comprehensive, Phoebe. But
thank you very much.
With finance, so like I kind of mentioned, you can. So for example, with the pandemic going, so the way that the whole tax year assessment for your parents happens, it's not for the year that you're in. So for example, the application that we've just done for the year that we're in at the moment, that would have been from 18 to 19, I think. Basically, it's not for the last year, it's the year before.
Oh, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
It's strange. So basically, because of the pandemic, obviously a lot of people have either taken pay cuts, they've been on furlough, they've been made redundant, loads of different things have happened. And basically what a lot of people haven't been told that they could be doing is doing something called a current year assessment, which basically takes the tax from the current year that you're in and it'll work out the difference. And if your household income has fallen below 15%, you'll get more income. Or you'll get a higher maintenance loan, which will just help cover the costs a bit, because for a lot of people you'll probably find that your maintenance loan might not cover your rent, which it didn't for me in first year.
I can say that if without my parents, I'm so lucky that my parents are in a position to financially support me, because I wouldn't, with just my maintenance loan, I wouldn't be able to live anywhere.
Yeah.
So
and that
I'm
was the big difference
grateful.
between first and second year for me, because I found that it was easier, campus accommodation, in the halls, that's lovely, and I think I would definitely recommend that for first year, because it's a good way to meet people, but also everything's very accessible. You can go drinking on campus, go to meet friends, whatever. But you'll notice a difference between first year and second year, because when you move into a student house, for example, if you don't decide to go back into halls, if you go into a student house, the rent's a lot cheaper. Or at least you get a bit more freedom over choosing the price of your rent.
I think with a student accommodation, obviously you guys butt in if I'm saying something you don't agree with. I think you pay more for university accommodation because of there's 24-hour maintenance. We have a 24-hour hotline if anything goes wrong. Maintenance is constantly here.
You also have cleaners, you have internet provided in that, are basically unlimited bills.
Yeah, shared spaces are cleaned for you. You don't have to worry about water or the electricity bill or Wi-Fi or anything. So everything is included, which is why when you look at university provided accommodations, it is so expensive.
I think we'll do a whole kind of deep dive into accommodation in another
that is
another
a whole
day.
conversation we could have.
That's a whole Pandora's box that we can open at another point. But just generally, do you guys have anything which was just quickly, it's to do with finance. Aside from the whole student loan, student maintenance, get a student bank. Loads of different banks provide them. Just
do you mean the student account? Sorry.
Yeah, a student account. Yeah. So basically, a lot of them basically just adapt your normal account type within your bank to a student one, where basically normally you get some kind of overdraft, which will be capped at a certain level, and then after when you graduate, it turns to a graduate account, and you basically have, I think it's 3 years or something, to basically get out of your overdraft if you have gone into it. But loads of different banks provide kind of perks with their student banking schemes. So for example, I think it was Santander, they did a rail card. I think Nationwide did. I think they did a gift voucher or something.
I think some banks give you £100 or an NUS card fully paid for.
Yeah. But I think the one that most people that I spoke to, most people went with, I think it was Santander, because for the rail card. Obviously, we haven't been able to actually use it, which is a bit annoying. But that's something to look into as well. Don't pick it necessarily off of the perks. Look at different interest rates or whatever. But best just to speak to your own banks about that and have a look around. Don't just stick with a bank that you're already with, because they might end up having a higher interest rate. Or anything like that. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly add that on there.
I want to say, on the topic of student finance and just managing finances at university, I think with most university students, people would have generally a part-time job. But I think another thing, going back to just being at university, I would say take the chances you're given in terms of just being like in a part-time job at university. So like for me, I'm a student ambassador and like a student scholars mentor. So I think with those two things, and then there's other things. For example, you can join a panel, and then you can give your ideas, and then you'll get paid from there. So I think a lot of things add up. So, and another thing, I mean, this is going back to the beginning, but even when choosing university, when universities were giving their talks, especially the university we're at, they especially talked and stressed so much about how important it was that they would give opportunities to students. For example, even like working in bars, and like we have lots of things to do on campus, but students are working those jobs. So I think with everything, and it's like, yeah, you don't get as much shifts as if you were doing a part-time job outside, but with your given schedule and everything, university is much more likely to be understanding of your situation. For example, if you just say, oh, well, I have lectures on these times, can I do these times, and they'll probably understand. So I think and especially you can do more than one sort of job, so it just all adds up in the end. I think for student finance, for people who, like, for example, it's not going to be enough to cover everything, or you want to make a little bit of extra cash on the side, I think that's an incredible way to go. And yeah, I think if you're going to universities and open days and applicant days, I would say ask that as well, because that just shows how much value they give their students, and how much interaction you're going to get out of university in general.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think we should kind of do a big deep dive into that at some point. It might be something we can kind of put in a broader topic with, people who do like part-time courses alongside, a full-time job. But for me, like, I've worked in a part-time job outside of university, but for first year I didn't do any shifts during term times. I'd basically take up a load of shifts when I went back home. And I think it really depends on what how you feel you're going to be able to balance it, but also if you're going to be able to physically get to where you go. Like, for example, the job that I'm at are very understanding of, if I say, I've got a lot of deadlines on at the moment, so I can't work this weekend, then they're absolutely fine with that. And, when you finish, the time between finishing A-levels and starting university, it's like, I can't even remember. It's like the middle of
months.
Yeah, it's really long. Like, it's a really long time. So a lot of people, as much as they say, enjoy your summer, just take up get a job.
Get a job.
Even honestly, you don't understand how much time you have. So much time, and yeah, you can go out partying club, but you're not going to do that for 5 months straight. So like, what I did was I worked. I think it was like 3 or 4 days a week. I think I worked 4 days a week. And then I basically would allow myself the 3 days to kind of have fun, because I wasn't also getting burnt out by either thing. It was very balanced, but I also made enough money that I didn't have to work during term time. I could really focus on enjoying myself at uni and not worrying so much about finance, because I think if you worry too much about it, then you kind of end up like, oh, I'm not going to go out because I can't afford to go out. You don't have to spend loads of money when you go out, or it is what you make of it.
Definitely. I think that's the biggest takeaway. Like, university is what you take out of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just one of those things, like, the whole process of getting to uni in general, it is confusing at times, but for the most part, like, once you kind of start the ball rolling, like when you have to start looking at your courses and your unis, and you start going to the open days, that's when you start to really get the excitement for being there. And then it's the whole process of, I can't wait to get there. And you'll slowly, you will figure out, okay, I value going out and I don't want to be working. So plan ahead. Don't just live in your overdraft. I mean, you can if you want to, but I think
it's not healthy. It's not a healthy way to live your life.
It starts a dangerous spiral where you're constantly like dipping into it, and then you're like, because it is technically money that doesn't exist. But at the end of the day, you've got an overdraft for a reason, so don't be scared to go into it as well. For example, like, I go into my overdraft when I know that I'm getting paid or I'm getting my student loan. Like, just for example, if it's something that I need to get then and there, but I don't have the physical money for, like, it's a dangerous balance to get, but I think it's practice. You know what you do after a while.
Yeah, I think that's probably a conversation for another day. I think
Yeah, but
we
we'll
could speak
do a
about that for
whole
a long time.
finance, managing your own life. We'll do that as a separate topic.
How to be an
'cause I
adult,
think,
kind of thing.
oh my goodness. But I think we'll call it there for the day. Are there any final comments which people have?
Not really.
I think I'm gonna leave it there then. So thank you for listening. We hope it's been mildly entertaining, if not informational. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. So bye.
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 Bye.